Hi, this is Kalyan Karmakar, and welcome to this live broadcast on Finely Chopped TV. Um, it's it's not the happiest of days, I'm afraid. There's been a terrible cyclone in my home state, West Bengal, and our neighboring state, Odisha, and it's been really painful waking up to seeing the devastating images which are there, and of course. Last evening as well as hearing them. We've got family there, and there's so many countless people and outside of the cities where the devastation has been even stronger. And one can only hope and pray for the very best. I would urge each of you and all of us, we'll try to reach out to people there and try to help people. I would urge the governments, the central, the state, all the authorities to get together and help the people of Odisha and Bengal at this time. We need to come together. I would request the media as well to put the focus on that. All of us on social media are trying. It's not the happiest of days, but we will overcome, as the cliche says. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it will. And it's tough, but let's really do all our bit. Even if we can make a difference in the life of one person over there, that's a job well started. Well, today's broadcast is all about the human spirit. And there have been a couple of projects which I've been planning for a few months and one for a year, and one of which I started, and you've been seeing examples of that, is called Foodocracy India, and over there the idea was to bring up stories of the people behind food across India, street food places, old restaurants, cafes, modern places, and tell their stories, because there are many inspiring stories over there, and the idea was to share that with you. And it was more about stories than lists and anything like that. And again, talking of Odisha, Bengal, there are a lot of people over there who have done some really wonderful work in the area of food, and we just hope and pray that they can all come back well. So Foodocracy India is one pet project which I started at the start of this lockdown, and I've been sharing stories through podcasts and on my blog. Hopefully you've got that. That was a plan which I had in mind for almost a year. There was another plan which I was sitting on for about 4 or 5 months, when last November a colleague of mine, former colleague Ira, met me, and she's in the event space now, and we were thinking of various things to do to help women in the F&B space, the women entrepreneurs. And we are working on many of those plans, but I thought that at least let me start one of them, which is to bring out the stories of some of the really amazing women who are there in the F&B space. We hear of many today who are home chefs, who are bakers, and so on. But there are also people who have set up restaurants, who work in hotels, and they work in like top positions. And some of their stories are not as well known as it should be. Some are, but I don't think there's enough telling of that, because the more we tell these stories, the more there is inspiration for all of us, not just for women, not just for young girls who want to enter this segment, but I think for all of us, starting with us men. I think we have a lot to learn from women in organization, and that much more in F&B, which leads to Okay, so I think the connection's been playing hide and seek with us, but bear on with me. Today we've got a very interesting person to join us, and some of you might know of her, if or of her place, especially if you're from Mumbai, and even otherwise, because even people across the world are really fond of what she's done. And if you're not, then it's time to know her story. She's someone who's understated and private to a fault, but has done some really wonderful work. I'm trying to see if she's there with that live request. Otherwise, I might just have to quickly sort of hop off here while you guys are there and tell her to send me the request. And this lady is someone who's not really too much into social media, and she runs her social media handles herself with a bit of help from her daughter, who's 10 years old. So you can imagine that some of it might not be as smooth as if a proper agency was doing it. So just hang on. I'm going to quickly. Okay, I'm back. I quickly got off the live and gave her a call, because like I said, this lady is not so much into social media, and her social media agent or assistant or intern is her daughter, who's 10 years old, and therefore we might have some initial bumps, and I'm expecting that through this series, because we are doing everything by ourselves, self-dependency, Atma-Nirbhan, whatever you want to call it, and therefore I don't have an agency. A lot of people whom I'm going to speak to in the series won't either, so we can just sort of cross our fingers and hope she joins in. But I've told her, Pinky, if you're listening of Soam, then just disconnect, join in again, and send me a request to join. But till then, let me give you a bit of an introduction rather than keeping it a mystery, because you've already seen the banners and joined in, so there's no mystery over here. I'm going to speak to Pinky Chandan Dixit, who runs a restaurant called Soam. Soam is in South Mumbai, opposite a very, very famous and a fairly old temple by Mumbai standards called Babulnath, which is more than a century old and extremely revered, and it's one of the top temples in Mumbai. And just opposite that is Soam, and Soam is about 12 or 15 years old. We are going to get the exact number when she joins us. Soam, in case you're wondering where the name came from, S-O-M, Soam comes from Somnath, which is one of the names of Lord Shiva, who is the main deity of the Babulnath temple. Soam is a Gujarati restaurant, and I think it's one of the first in this modern wave of restaurants which made regional Indian food, trendy again to the modern customer. And it opened at a time when I think all of us were okay. In case you're wondering where I disappeared, please bear with me. That is Pinky calling me. Pinky thought that she had to do a live broadcast, but I told her that no, Pinky, if you're listening, then disconnect, join my live, and send me a request to join. I guess we should have done some rehearsals before. We did have a couple of long chats in the last 2 days, where I think we spoke a lot about life, food, the restaurant industry, our cats, everything but about how to join live. And that's probably a learning from me. I think I need to, when I'm doing something like this, focus a lot more on the logistics of it. So fingers crossed, if anyone's there and can tell Pinky, otherwise she spoke with me as well, and I'm trying to tell her that just join my live, click to see it. Okay, so Pinky Chandan Dixit runs Soam restaurant, and Soam is the Gujarati restaurant. It's a vegetarian restaurant, and they do some food apart from Gujarati. They do some food from Madhya Pradesh, which is where her husband comes from, Pinky's husband, and so Pinky's Soam Babulnath's joined in. Now I'm trying to see how I can get them to join the live. Okay, Soam Babulnath, Pinky, hello, it's good to see you joining in. But please click on the thing where it says request to join live. So guys, you can see Soam Babulnath there. Please type in on my behalf and tell her, Pinky, if you're listening, just click on the request to join live. If you can't, just disconnect, join again, and there will be a thing which says request to join live. Can you click on that? Yeah, so Soam, like I said, is a Gujarati focused restaurant. They have some food from Madhya Pradesh, or at least the Matar Paneer, which comes from her husband's side. He's from MP. They have some Maharashtrian food, because that's where we are, Mumbai. She has one Parsi dish, the dhan saag. No problem, Pinky, no stress. No stress. I have told everyone that you're someone who focuses on the restaurant, your daughter and your cats, and are not that social media savvy, and which is why we want people like you on this chat, because your stories will not come otherwise. So don't worry. Everyone's here. Everyone's patient. Everyone's very nice, and we'll just wait. And don't worry. There's no hurry, because even if people need to go, we will be posting these videos again and seeing them. So the thing about the food in Soam is that, like I told you, is vegetarian. So I must say that I myself didn't go there for years, though there were a lot of people who praised it to me. Vikram Doctor, who's like, this genius in food. And then V Sangvi, when I started working with him for a bit, he told me that he's a big fan of the Soam food, Kurush Dalal. Rushina Munshaw Gildayal, she's one of the earliest people who tell me go trying the food at Soam. But it took me a while when I did it, and once when I did it, I sort of became a big fan. So, guys, what I'm going to do is, I think this is not. Yes. There it is. There. I am so excited. I'm so excited. Now we are waiting for Pinky Chandan Dixit to join in. There she is.
Nice.
Pinky, I don't think I've ever been so happy to see you. Okay, guys, so this is Pinky Chandan Dixit. Like I told you,
Guys. Hi.
like I told you, our social media her, and she's 10 years old, and her the daughter's two cats also sometimes help. But that's Pinky for you, understated to a fault, very shy. In fact, most times when I've gone to the restaurant to eat, I have not seen Pinky, but she knows who's there, what is there. It's like a well-oiled machine. Once I asked her, where are you? She said that I'm dropping my daughter for school or something like that. And she doesn't have a social media agency. So I asked her, like, who's doing her social media? So she smiled and said, I am. So as in herself. And Pinky and I had spoke in preparation for this. I must say, we spoke yesterday, we spoke day before. But Pinky being the sort of social media shy person who she is, and me being the sort of non-planner who I am, we spoke about food, we spoke about our cats, we spoke about spouses, wives, the industry, what's happening, everything but how to get onto this chat. But anyway, no worries, we are here. No worries. Pinky Chandan Dixit, I'm so happy to have you on board, because when I thought of Foodocracy India, I thought that I want you and people like you first, because there are a lot of wonderful women who are doing great work in this sector. Some are people whom we know about, and there's many like you whom we don't know about. And when I did the time. So, Pinky, that's what it is about today. It's just going to be a conversation about you and me, and we're going to talk about our stories. Everyone's going to listen in. Folks, since I'm going to record this and put this up later, I will not be taking questions at this point. But if you have questions and comments, let me know. From this point onwards, because this is where it really starts. If you've joined in, from this point onwards, we are going to continue for about half an hour. So it's 4:20 now, so 4:50. So Pinky Chandan Dixit, tell me, you started Sophia, you joined Sophia College, right, after school?
Yes, I joined Sophia
College. And what did you study there?
I studied hotel management. It was a 2-year diploma then. And then was interested in pastry and bakery. So I did my first stint at the Oberoi for about maybe 6 months or so. And then I bullied my father into sending me to LCB in London. Fully sure that.
So you're a rich South Bombay spoiled girl, huh?
No, they put me on a budget. And I have to say, I had to really squiggle.
I'm pulling her leg. I know that your family comes from very down to earth. Someone made that point about Pooja Dhingra. So even she said that, we worked really hard to do all of this. Sometimes impressions can be misleading. Your family runs a hotel in Mahabaleshwar, right? Your parents?
Yeah, we grew up
that's
on
a fun
the hotel.
So you've grown up in a hotel?
Yeah, we've grown up in a hotel, raised with parents who went to work morning, evening, and night, came back home to supervise, watch us, and send us back to bed when it was time for them to go back to serve dinner in the dining room downstairs. So this has been part of our life.
And then you were in hostel, right, in Panchgani?
In the later part, because it was getting a bit much to commute from Mahabaleshwar to Panchgani is a good 1 hour every day in those buses. So it was a good shift to go back to school and live like a sort of a normal life, not hotel and school and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was nice.
Now, Pinky, when I was your daughter's age, as in she's 10 now, so that was the time, or maybe 1 year before or after, when I was introduced to the world of Enid Blyton. I know I'm digressing, but we used to read these books like Mallory Tower, St. Clair's, and we'd read about all the fun hostelites would have, and the tuck boxes which would come. And I think a lot of us in my generation actually wanted to study in a hostel. Was hostel life really so idyllic?
It was absolutely fab. I can't tell you, my closest friends today are from the boarding school and they're all over the world. But if you don't speak to them even for a whole year or two or maybe 10, you could still pick up the phone and say, Hi, good morning, I'm in trouble. I just wanted to say hello. And you just pick up exactly where you left off.
It must have made you very
So
self-reliant, right? So
it
being in a hostel, that's what they say.
it makes you self-reliant. I think to me it made me very accepting of people because you're at that age, you're not at that stage to absorb these are people with these are things that it's like living on your own as a child, which becomes a bit difficult until you settle in. So you learn to fend for yourself, you learn to be kind if you want to, you learn to be tolerant, you learn to be accepting, I think. And of course, you learn to be very self reliant.
What a wonderful set of values you taught. You said like to fend for yourself, self-reliant. I mean, that's important. We don't live in a fairy tale, but also to be kind and tolerant and patient. And I'm sure that these are values you're passing on to your daughter and maybe to your cats as
Yes,
well.
Kalyan, I can remember, we were a hostel, we were a dorm of about 130 with 7 bathrooms. So, it is, you jolly well let somebody enjoy a long shower on a Sunday if they decided to. And just chill, take your time.
And
You
I'm
just
not
sort
even
of
going to
learn
make
that.
and I'm not going to make any sexist comment about how much time women need to sort of get ready in the
No way.
bathroom. This
Boys
is going to
take
be all
long.
about this foodocracy for her, which has been named by my wife. It's going to be all about us men learning from you guys. Now, tell me, when you went into Sophia and you did
Mhm.
hospitality management for 2 years, that's
Mhm.
the time when career thoughts would have come in your mind. And what was you said you went to Oberoi. Did you want to be a pastry chef then, or were you a chef? Or
I was very keen to be a pastry chef, and I very quickly realized that I was not the hands on production person who could do, I could not sit at a desk doing paperwork, so that was a goner for me. Pastry, I did for a few months, and I realized the whole monotony of doing the same recipe every single day and the politics that goes on in the kitchen and the other stuff sort of when you're younger you're less resilient to it, so it sort of made me want to explore that if I was to learn something more than I've already learned, this is a good time, because if I stuck around here I'd be picking up those same 20 recipes that I learned at the kitchens or in college, and wouldn't have the at that time there was no internet also, so there wasn't like anybody I could learn from except to go to like a system or a college or a culinary school. And you know being a very protective person myself, parents, I'd just come back from boarding, lived with mommy and daddy for 4 years, and I'm thinking I need to sort of break out of this and get to be by myself in the world. And at that point I was dating my boyfriend who's now my husband, and my father was not at all keen on me continuing this relationship. So bang on, I took the chance and I said, Daddy, let me go off, I may change my mind. So
but has
that's
Daddy
how I'm
changed his mind?
slowly doing.
Has Daddy
Daddy
changed his mind? How many years of
Daddy
your
changed.
marriage has it been?
20 this year, and it took him a long time. So now they're best friends, and I wonder what they were fighting about. So,
And I was telling people while I was waiting for you to join, the matar puri and the dahi wala aloo on the soap menu is from your sasural, right?
it's from there. It's their contribution, yes.
Yes. So you went to Cordon Bleu in which city?
As in
La
London.
Cordon, London.
Yeah.
And so you trained on pastry over there as well,
I did a six
specialized in
month
pastry.
I did a 6 month diploma in the pastry section, and
Huh.
they also had class only 3 times a week then. So I
Yeah.
had 2 or 3 days free to myself, except for a Sunday, because London being very proper, Sunday was more or less off.
Yeah.
And I sort of initiated with a friend of mine to introduce me to the pastry chef at the Langham Hilton, and she got me an internship. So the 3 days of the week that I was free, I would get up in the morning at 6 o'clock and get to work at the Hilton, which was another experience altogether, because
Yeah.
there
That's
was no
great.
exposure in a professional environment except for the Oberoi that I had, which was a culture I was used to. And that was a completely different culture, with everything being pre-plated. The first time my introduction to, them doing a sit-down banquet and doing 300 plates of dessert loaded and ready to go out at one shot, I'd never seen anything like it.
I can relate to what you're saying because, my experience of banquets as a diner, especially more in my market research days, because at the end of conferences, we'd sit banquets and have then had more banquets here as a food person in India. I feel that abroad, people are better equipped to handle banquets. Like when you have these long tables, the food comes properly plated, hot, or the right temperature. India's still learning. I think, but there's been a lot of progress in the last couple of years. Now, tell me why pastry is that a bit of a cliche? Because I feel that most women, even now in hotels or chefs, tend to gravitate towards the pastry section. Is that considered to be a safe option? It's almost like an equivalent of, at least when we were growing up, also if a woman has to work, she has to be a teacher. And I'm intentionally bringing out these sort of stereotypes out at the risk of being trolled. But is that a cliche?
For me personally, I worked in a kitchen during my school, my college training. We have this summer training sort of thing, and as the ambassador, they gave us a whole 2 months in the kitchen, which was part of my internship there. And as a person, I realized the hot kitchen wasn't where my heart was. Okay,
So it's an individual decision. It's an individual
I
decision.
I
Fair
feel
enough.
for pastry, what really excited me towards it was that there was um, a product that you finished from the beginning to the end. There was a fine nuance. There was this everything. All your senses got involved with the flavor, the fragrance, and also what I like about baking is that for me it's not only therapeutic; it's also very regimented. There are no mistakes there if you follow everything correctly. So it was foolproof, which I like. I mean, that's my
You know,
nature.
again, talking of stereotypes, while we were waiting to join you, I was saying that one thing which we learned from women is that they're far more regimented to use a work. Like if something has to be done, they will do it to the T and properly. And I mean, that's the same between my wife and me. Like when she cooks, like she will, and the perfectionist that she will bhuno the masala, form everything and this, that. While I think a lot of us guys, and we go to the kitchen, throw things around. Normally they land up well, but I
Make a
think women
war
are far
zone at
more.
the kitchen. Make a
No,
war
no,
zone at the kitchen.
I clean up. I clean up. In fact, in my videos, I tell people to clean up. But yes, I think even in my market research career, I've always found my women colleagues to be far more focused, while men were like, okay. So I preferred having male bosses because women bosses are a lot stricter.
Very
So
exacting.
yes. Now tell me, you came back to India. You came back home once the course was over. What was the plan then
Well,
when you came back?
the plan then was to see this property that we were at Soam belonged to my parents from like about 3 decades. Then I was very keen to explore running a pastry shop here, and my father said to me, I'm not too keen on what you're doing just now. I don't want to really make an investment. I'd rather have you, cut your teeth a bit and see how you feel about it. And so, saying, I decided to help him restructure the hotel in Mahabaleshwar. So, at that point, we were upgrading our skills in. Setting up a conference venue, setting up upgrading the room facilities. And I worked with him for about a year or so. And then, as
This
you
is the
rightly
Fountain Hotel, right? Your
this is
hotel
the
now?
Fountain Hotel in
Yeah.
Mahabaleshwar. So while I was doing that for about a year, I realized, it was getting too much. I was doing work at home, I was doing home at work, and it was, and you're younger, you don't have the ability to draw lines. And then at that point, somebody said to me, "There's a job, at this Raheja group of hotels. Will you consider a job in marketing and sales?" So I said, "Well, okay, let me go meet them." And I did that for about 3 years. So they had these 3 properties called the Resort, the Retreat, and the
Yeah.
Carlton in Kodaikanal. And I
Very famous.
marketed those. for about 3 years and met the most wonderful bunch of ladies. Again, very women centric office, full on hen scoop, and very, very tight knit lot of people. And then at the end of those 3 years, I realized that I, somehow gravitated towards meeting Talla Dalal, and she was looking for a recipe research person. And for me, that was something that was very exciting because I liked the sort of work she did, and I really, really enjoyed her company as a
So
person.
you worked with Tarla Dalal. You worked with the
I
late
worked
Tarla
with
Dalal.
I
My
worked with her
God,
for 7
sh-
years.
she's such a legend, and
So
I doubt if there's anyone in this broadcast live today who even has ever met her. But she's such a legend, and she unfortunately passed away. I want to digress and take the attention a bit away from you, Pinky. But maybe are there two or three lessons which I think all of us can learn from Tala Dalal's work ethic? Because we don't know anything about her as a person. So,
uh,
and you've had this wonderful opportunity.
my biggest take back from her is try everything. There's no rule that cannot be broken. There's no combination that cannot be tried. You may succeed, you may fail, but you will have tried. And it's always to push the boundary. I mean, she was one who would not hesitate to twist things around, even at the risk of it sounding completely madcap, and it would work. I mean,
Yeah.
I
So
completely.
it sounds like she was ahead of her time then, because that's what
She was
people do now. Reinterpreting, reimagining what earlier used to be called fusion. But I think she was ahead of her time.
No, I think she encouraged by her son because she always would slip back a little, and then her son, who used to be my boss, then immediately Sanjay Dalal,
What's his name? Sanjay
Sanjay
Dalal.
Dalal, and he used to always tell her, "Ma, you got to do this. Ma, we got to do this website. We've got to do this." In those days, I mean, it was maybe 2009, no, 1999, 2001. We were doing a website. We had a dedicated helpline. We were doing literally 3 cookbooks every, like 6 cookbooks a year. I think we were doing, and they were
Wow.
all research tested and out. So it was a good. It was a good experience, and she never let us say it was wrong. It was just, if it was wrong, it was tried again. There was no mistakes. It was just hiccups.
So would you say that I mean, in the years of my corporate career, there have been certain bosses who have left an influence on me, on my management style, my style with my team. Would you attribute some of that to Tarla? Because now that I'm hearing what you say about her and what I know of you,
Completely. I mean, she was one who would look at the smallest things and would pick up छोटे छोटी चीजें which we would have never bothered to realize that that's what contributed to the dish failing or not working, or that would make that little change that would be tremendous and never noticed.
you
Like
guys
stuff
look a
like, sorry.
you guys look a bit similar also. You and Talala.
I don't know about
Maybe I'm not,
that, but
just
yes.
vaguely. Maybe it's some of her goodnesses. Now tell me, how did Soam happen? Was Soam after Talala?
So actually, 7 years into Talla Dalal, it had been sort of, you've been there, done that, and my husband had started his business. We were doing relatively well, and he said to me, "Pinky, take it easy, take a break." So I decided to put in my papers, and I said thank you to her, and I said, "Ma'am, I'll be here, but not." Would not like to sort of continue regular hours. And true to my luck, ants in my pants, my brother comes up to me and says, "Pinky, why are you wasting your time at home? Let's get going." And again, my pastry shop came out. So he's looking at me and he said, "No, he's the banya and the visionary in our equation because we started Soam together." And I'm
What's his
always
name?
with, his name is Gaurav Chandan, and he's about 10 years younger than me, but treats me like I'm 10 years younger than him. So he said to me, "ये कुछ नहीं चलने वाला तुम्हारा पिंकी pastry कुछ नहीं चलने वाला. I want you to do a market survey. I want you to see what's going to work in our area, what's going to give us the least chance of failure, and what we're going to be excellent at doing. So the other option we had was what we'd grown up eating, which was Gujarati food, Marwadi food. And I was telling Gaurav, I said, dude, I got married against my parents' wishes. So I didn't see them for a few, maybe a year or so. And more than that, I was too proud to say I was missing my ghar ka khana. And every time I stepped out, it would be to eat Gujarati food, it would be at Thakar Bhojnalaya, which would be a full thali. There was very little semblance of what you actually ate at home in a chota sort of
That's more festival
broken
food.
down version, like a broken down version of a thali. And if you wanted to do stuff like dal dhokli and you wanted to do stuff like handbo, no, it's always good to cook in a quantity. Now, if I'm alone cooking for myself, there's no way I want to make the effort. And when I realized I was talking to people and we saw that there are lots of people like me who were married outside their community and missed their home sort of cooking. Like I'm sure you feel like when I see your blogs, I see you missing all your Bengali food in your home cooking and you want to come back to it, whether it is to learn or to eat. I think Soam sort of picked that up in the early stages and broke that down into a component into many chota courses in the thali. And with that, we had this thing about what goes with what, matlab, what's going to complement this dish. So we decided to do a pre-plated menu, which was unusual for that time, but we didn't want to have this thing about, oh, you can try this with that also and that also, and then it may not work for you. So we'd like you to encourage you to eat as we've decided we'd like this to go, but you have the option of choosing to also pick another combination. And as we started, we sort of developed this trajectory where, the first few months takes a lot of time in terms of, putting your logistics in order, where my family, my father pitched in and very sweetly said, you worry about the front end, I'll take care of the back end of the kitchen because I've been doing it for years. So he put my ducks in a row where he said, we will grind the atta, we will grind the besan, we will source this, and very sweetly put it all together. And Daddy let me worry about aage ka, to do the general PR, to absorb guest requirements, to see where we were going wrong, if it had to be changed, if we had to sort of, modify something because it wasn't the way the guest expected it. We expected to serve something that we thought the guest would like, and it didn't necessarily happen that way every single time. So that's when I started talking to people, and I met along the way Rushina, who I
She's
call
been such
my,
a strong advocate of your
she's,
work.
she's
She's
been
the one
my
who
fairy
first
god.
told me you have to go there.
No, she
Yes, she's
actually,
been a
I
big
met her while
champion.
she was doing a piece for Savvy then, and she said, I want to do one kachi food piece. And I'm like, I don't have kachi food, Rushina. So she said, can you cook it and we'll shoot it? So I said, yeah, I mean, I can cook it for you. We'll shoot it. I've got nothing to do because the restaurant is not yet fully picked up. And that's how we met, Rushina and me. And
Which year? Sorry, I'm sorry. I don't want to interject too much, but which year did Som start?
we started in 2005,
So that's what, 15 years coming up.
15 years this year.
And so
So
Rushina,
Rushina and me
Rushina is
said,
in Rushina Munshaw Gildial. So 2015,
yes,
16 is when you guys met
five,
and
five,
discussed.
five,
2005 is 2000. So right from the beginning, she's been,
right
and you
from the
didn't know
beginning.
her before that. It's not that Rushina was
No,
a friend of hers. She just came
no.
out of the way and tried to help you.
She got introduced to me with Antoine, who I used to know. Antoine said,
Antoine Louis,
Rushina
yeah.
is doing this piece. Will you
Huh.
meet her? And I met Rushina. And then we connected at some level. We finished the shoot. And then a couple of days later, I sent her some menus that I was working on. And she said to me, try this, work on that. And then I was telling her, this is not helping me. That's not working out. The kitchen is not able to produce. So she said to me, let's sit and work out something for you. And very sweetly, she put together with me my first Faral ka menu, which was Shravan, because she said, well, they're fasting. We opened in April and July was the first Shravan. And she said, let's give it a shot because, people are going to fast.
And
People are going to
is that potato a part of the Faral menu, the Farali potato?
Yes,
That
yes, that's
white
part of the
potato,
Faral.
which
Yeah.
is Kainaz's absolute favorite. What I really like about this is that this story is sometimes we say that women are the worst enemies of each other, but here you had another woman Of course, introduced to you by a guy, Antoine. So we also this thing. But how she pushed you and when as if it was her own. It's not that she had anything to
Absolutely.
own out of it, get out of it. That's really lovely.
I, I met her mother a few weeks later, and she was so sweet. Kalyan, her
She's
daughter
a
was
most
getting
sweet
married.
lady.
Rushina's younger sister was getting married a few
It's her
months.
birthday yesterday. It was her birthday yesterday, Himanshi.
Yes,
I've met her in
yes,
Melbourne.
Himan's
Yeah,
40th birthday.
Himanshi's birthday
So
yesterday. I met her in Melbourne.
So auntie called me up and she said, "Will you do this catering for the Mehndi function?" And I looked at her and I said, "Auntie, I've never done catering before." So she said, "So what? Do it. Let's see if it goes well." And that was how I put my foot out in catering. So thanks to Hina auntie and Rushina, we actually got I got confidence to sort of put our feet out there.
So Rushina's mom, Hina auntie, I mean, they're Gujaratis as well. She herself is such a brave lady. I mean, husband passed away and she ran the travel agency, brought up her kids. And actually, the first time I had Soam food was also catering when Rushina's book launch happened,
Yes,
pinchful
yes.
of this and that, and on her mom's terrace. Now, I must tell you at this point, Pinky, there are a lot of people who are putting in comments saying that they love the food at Soam. And it's not really a question of this versus that. But me not being a Gujarati and me being a nuclear family sort of person, even thali joints is something which I find a bit uncomfortable because so much comes. I guess it's more like a festive eating. But when I go to Som and I know the Swati Snacks is also in the same genre. Probably Swati Snacks is older than Som. Is Swati
Much
Snacks?
older.
Yeah,
Much
because it's
older.
it's an institution and each of you have your fans and that's wonderful. So when I went to Sati Snacks and later to Som and I was getting food and the combinations were like we Bengalis always say that March fish will never be with anything but rice or if it's kosha mangsho it'll be luchi but if it's jhol the curry it has to be rice. I'm talking
Exactly.
non-veg because I've spoken a lot of veg for a lot of time in it. But I like that when I go to a home chef, I like it when someone takes control. So I like it when you serve me, the satpadi roti with the gatte ka sabzi, though that's Rajasthani. I like it when you make the combination for me, or I like it when you make the combination of the undio puri, but you're also giving the kachumbar. I would never have thought of it. I know your Parsi vegetarian combination is spot on because you also put the kebab and all of that. Now tell me, Pinky, wasn't it a bit scary to go against what's the norm? Because the Gujarati thali joints of Mumbai is such a legend. So to get into that, okay, one Swati Snacks made a establishment and a legend of themselves, but to do that in 2005, when it was all about Indigo, under the bridge, over the oven, Indigo came in, then Saltwater Cafe, this that was a time of international cuisine, Shatrans, Napoli. So to come in with an Indian regional food, wo bhi Gujarati, which Mumbai has so many legendary places, and you also have a Crystal down the road, which is of course Punjabi. It must have taken a lot of guts, right? What gave you the courage? Did you
You
think about
I
all this,
actually did no,
or
it
did you
didn't.
just you just
It
did
did.
it?
Honestly, it did come to me. I tell you, the first few weeks we opened. First, I had people who walked in through the door and didn't know what so meant. So for them, it was
What does so mean?
Soam.
Manisha was asking. What does so mean?
Soam is actually nectar of the gods, which is Somras. And also for Somvar because we're at Babulnath and that's the day of the deity. So
I thought
Som
Somnath
actually
also.
was
You told me. I think once you told me.
Somnath,
Yeah.
Somras, Somrat,
So all
Somras,
Soms.
and Som, all Soms.
Super.
And it we would be perceived as like a fancy, people open the door, they would say, okay, nothing Gujarati about your restaurant, nothing Indian about it, and we kept that categorically very like very neutral contemporary decor because we wanted it to be like actually my father would have told me the first day, he said, if it doesn't work then we'll just close it down and open your pastry. Okay, so that was my backup plan. so, so we kept it neutral. And the other thing that I felt, it was, if I was to go to a restaurant with my parents and it was to be this very Indian looking thing, I'd be sort of embarrassed, like a teenager or a young person. And I'm thinking to myself, what would it take to get three generations on a table together to enjoy a meal and not have anybody do make a big fuss of it? Would be a nice environment, good food for the elderly people to enjoy, some amount of novelty for the younger generation to get into. And I must say, we had a healthy lot of people who would walk in and say, "Thali nahi hai," and they would walk out. And then my waiters would come up to me and tell me, "Madam, chalu karna mat hai na, ek thali, ek hi. We keep everything, whatever you want, but do
Like
one
Panchapuri
thali."
wala. Panchapuri wala has a thali and then the puris. Yeah.
Huh. So I said to them, I said, I don't want to really do it, but if you insist, give me like 6 months. If by then you've not made a go of it, we'll consider it. And we didn't need to wait for 6 months. We were okay in about 2.5.
That's
So I think
fantastic
we had.
because no, I'm saying that's fantastic because, I went to Soam maybe first in 2017 or something, so only 10, 12 years after you opened. And the market researcher in me is now saying that if that was your client brief, all of that actually came through. Because when I go to Soam, for me, it's like a modern restaurant where I can, go in with my wife, I can go in with, friends from abroad. At the same time, I can go with my mother-in-law, my wife's mama, who are all very simple people with simple values. So they neither feel overwhelmed, if you go to a
Yes.
very funky place, nor do they feel like, very old fashioned though. So they also feel there's something nice, something interesting to it. And when I see the crowds, I see young people, I see kids, I see elderly people, I see a lot of international people. Like I said, I don't always see you at the restaurant, but I see your staff taking care of the international people, even if they come alone. So no one feels lost. So tell me, how's it been? And one has to bring in the elephant in the room, which is that is being a woman, and an industry which is so male dominated. Your kitchen staff, all of them are men. The officials you work with are men. Your suppliers, this that. Have there been any difficulties? How did you overcome them?
There's always a fair share of difficulties, especially in the earlier days. Like today, I uh, feel safe, comfortable, and content with my spot in life. Not to say that it doesn't bother me once in a while, but in the initial days, it used to really, really get my goat because they would say, I was sitting and negotiating with the vegetable guy for his contract, and he'd say, "Madam, आप रहने दो ना, मैं आपका भाई से बात कर लेगा." And I'm like, "Come again." you know, if I was to tell somebody on my team only, "Baba, go wash your hands and come, where's your glove?" The response I would see that the boys would get would be more quicker, more frightening, and I would still be taken a little lightly. I think over time, as they realize that, you know, she means business and she'll get it done. But now I think because I have that comfort level, it comes much easier. I guess with a new team, you're also sort of worried about how much you can push and where you'll be taken. And also, when you're sometimes, the only lady on board, you sort of wonder, like, should I just take it easy? Let's not jump at everybody.
Do you
But
do you
they've
think
been
that
amazing.
do you think that
Sorry.
there are any strength? Do you think that okay? So we got the bit about like men not taking women that seriously, and I guess we are guilty of that sometimes. But what are the strengths which you brought in? You feel as being a woman in terms of the way you think about things. We discussed some of that in the Kitchen Tales panel. I remember.
I feel, I think what we women, as a general, not only me, bring to the table is a hell of a lot of commitment. We bring a certain amount of balance because we are wired to a certain, like an ESP. We pick up things before they happen or can gauge. Like, I don't know, we mentioned this on Kitchen Tales last year also that, somehow my husband and me and my father, we all run businesses. And, sometimes if there is something wrong with the food, it would be just in the question of खाना ठीक नहीं बना है. And then 3 दिन अगर वो same खाना ठीक नहीं बना है, तो why is the guy goofing up? There's got to be an underlying problem, which is when you call up somebody and as a woman I'd say, "Are you feeling well? Because you're not looking good to me." And he'd say, "Yeah, I got acidity." So obviously if the guy can't taste, his taste buds are not correct, he's going to goof up the same dish every single time because he's not able to taste it himself. So I think in that respect, we're a little more perceptive and we pick up
Hmm.
things a little more faster, and maybe even the staff responds quicker to say it's okay to tell her that I'm not feeling well. Like maybe with a male boss, he'd be saying, "मैं कुछ नहीं, ठीक है, कल ठीक करेगा." So maybe that's another thing. But that's
Yeah,
one of
this. Yeah, I remember yes talking about that then, and this is always a bit of a. I just realized that I've typed Babulnath wrong in the descriptor, but that's yeah. So what I've I know that when I do the series, there'll always be this slightly um, need to tread carefully because of the gender balances and all of that. But I do feel, and sometimes as a guy, I can step aside and say that because I've seen the perspective. The fact of the matter is that there is a certain um, innate sensitivity and emotion which women bring in, and rather than trying to deny that, in fact, I was having a chat with Ranveer Brar the other day on Yummy Idea, and we were talking about home chefs, and he said the same thing. He said that, not women in that case, but he said that why should home chefs be like restaurants? Why should they replicate the model? We should look at what home chefs are good for. Like, for example, they will do 3 dishes very well. They will do 10 people orders. So why will they try to make them try to be like a Soam, a Gujarati home chefs? So similarly, why should a woman try to be like a man is I don't know if it's politically correct, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Now,
No, I think it's
yeah,
not a man's fault, Kalyan. I'd like to say that it's things are changing, things are far nicer, and it's the fault of this silly patriarchy that we've lived with for so many generations. Like I see today, my father wanting to change the ways that he functions, or the way that he treats me and my brother, and it's so deeply ingrained. You have to sometimes remind him, Papa, it's not working today. It may have then, and it's not your fault as a man. It's just how you've been raised. We've just as women picked up another thing, and we've to now bring it to the fore. So it's like sort of a meeting of generations, if you might
yeah, no, that's true. But the point I'm also making is that there's a certain strength which women bring to the table because of the way they are wired, and I think that one should use that to the maximum. Like use this perceptiveness when dealing with people. Like men don't tend to do it. Like when it's each other, you just slap the other on the back and say, "Acha, chalo, kar lete." But to, and I've always been in things which are very women dominated because I've been brought up by a working mother. My dad passed away when I was young, surrounded by aunts and one uncle. I studied sociology in college, which was 18 girls and 3 guys in one class. Then I did qualitative research, which is I've often been the only guy in the office. I practice Nichiren Buddhism now, which there are more women active members in it. So yeah, now I'm going to bring this towards the end, but I'm going to raise one question now, and where I think in the answer to that, I'm going to show some of the advantage which comes in when a woman is in charge of the business, and which is the strange situation which we find ourselves in, that of the COVID lockdown, which has really turned everything over, and it's created a really dismal situation, and for many, like we are just facing the blank walls, and especially many in the hospitality industry, restaurants, hotels, everywhere. The wind has gone out of people, and you're wondering, like, is this the end of the road? So I want to know, how did Pinky, Chandan Dixit and Soam react to it when it was first announced, and where are you guys now? What are you planning? So maybe in a few minutes, if you can just describe what you guys are doing, because I think there's a lot to learn.
Kalyan, when we decided to shut down at the beginning of the lockdown, we had a staff strength of about 60. We had 25 living on property in staff rooms close to the restaurant. So I have 25 people on board. About 10
From outside
live
Mumbai. From outside
from
Mumbai.
outside,
So they're
migrant labor.
technically migrants.
Migrant labor. I have about 12 or 15 people who live in Mumbai and are not able to come to work, but they're technically here. And the rest that were due for leave over the next month or two, I'd asked them in March. I said, go home because there's no point in you being here, except for the ones that had just come back from leave and who didn't want to go. So we've been here for about 2 months. For the first month, we were kind of sort of reeling with the shock of what was happening. We just shut down, isolated, and they were cooking, looking after themselves, sort of taking care of everything. And the second month, I realized this has to stop, because people were losing their patience. We decided to put some sort of a plan in motion where we decided to keep them busy. So between my husband and me, we decided to news out. And while talking to the boys, we said, let's start cooking at least, because
Pinky, can
we
you
have been
repeat that
having.
last bit? You and your husband, because we lost you for half a second. You
Sorry.
and your husband decided
To sort of put them to make them a little busy, because we were all getting bored out of our minds and there was nothing to occupy us. Everybody's saying, can't sleep, we're not doing anything. All we've been doing is this,
and they're
just
away from
waiting.
home, and they're away from their families. So they
And
must be
they
like
were.
terribly worried.
So we got out a couple of menus. Asim researched a few menus and we were looking at them. And then, while showing it to the boys, one of my waiters who's Bengali said to me, Madam, ये तो मेरा घर का खाना है, मैं कल बना सकता है आपके लिए. So I'm like, okay, I don't even have to do research. So I said, Ranjit, you're on the job. The second day, one of the
What did
Orissa
he
boys
make?
said,
What did he make? What
he
did
made
Ranjit make?
bangun bhaja, he made
Begun.
torturi, bangun bhaja, he made gugni, we did radha vallabi, we did cholar dal, and we did the paneer patoli, and we
Paneer
did
paturi.
paneer patoli. We did, of course, vegetarian. Sorry, but
No,
so
no, no,
we
but
did
I'm
it.
coming. No, no, but this is like a full Durga Puja sort of menu or a Krishna no, Jayanti menu.
And then as we got down to the second day of that trial, he said to me, we have another person who's willing to contribute to this. And I'm like, perfect. And it made me realize that, everybody's missing their home food. And it's a
And and
good
and and
idea
and,
to.
and please call Ranjit the next time you meet him. He'll be so happy. And my God, what a menu! So the next
It
guy
was
was
very good. So the
the next
next
guy
day
did
was
what?
the next guy did an Orissa wala menu, and then
Odisha.
we had one Sindhi one which Asim sneaked in, and then we did one which was a UP menu which had those kachoris and aloo, and then that malai ka barfi and the parwal ki. We
Oh,
did a parwal ka halwa and a hari mirchi ka halwa, which was really strange, but it was fun, and
desert,
it
right?
was.
Mita halwa,
Yeah,
sweet halwa. Yeah.
sweet halwa. And I was very surprised because हरी मिर्ची का हलवा सुनते बहुत strange लगता है, but बनाते it was not so bad.
Uh,
And there's a lot of drama to it. I'm not sure if you can eat a whole bowl. So, but it was interesting to try and nice to see everybody just like I took that. When I made the gugni, I took it home and I have my baby's. Nanny is a Bangla lady, and she said to me, "If you make gugni, Didi, where is the poha with it?" So I believe they eat it with kurmura in the part of
well, there
Bengal
are
that
different
they
ways of
come.
doing it. So you're right. So ghugni is a street food dish to start with.
Huh, huh,
So you put chopped onion and tomato on top of that, chilies. Now you can have it with thick slices of bread, the local bread,
huh,
pound roti.
huh,
But there are
huh.
also a lot of people from the poorer classes of society who will in a bowl take kurmura bhel, which is muri, and
That's what you
ghugni and
told
have
me.
it.
Yeah.
Families like us would probably have it with either bread or the kachoris, the green pea kachoris, but with maida. So, but you're
Ah,
right. Now imagine if you do a ghugni with kurmura, it becomes so novel. So Soam, the
I
Gujarati restaurant is over. Is that the breaking news? Soam, the UP Bengali restaurant is coming up.
I I think slowly we'll have to go towards, and we've tried to go towards a little regional
You did
cooking
an
with
Assamese
Gitika.
festival also once, right? With Gitika.
Yes, we did in one with association with Gitika. We did a Kathiawadi one with Rushina because that was.
That's where I first went. That was my first interaction with Soam.
We were doing a whole bunch of these little things and realizing this is working, that's not working, and more than working, I think it was just learning new things, because as you get bored in the monotony of your everyday work, even your normal work tends to suffer. So I realized even at So, when we put out a new menu, which is every 3 or 4 weeks seasonally, like there's a summer menu and there's a pakoda menu, there's just a little bit of novelty that comes into the kitchen. Boys also very excited. There's just a spring in their step. And I think that is nice.
So coming back to the COVID, which is what we were talking, the current lockdown. So you're getting your boys to sort of take the ownership and try out menus that brought a bit of morale back into the room. Would you say that was a bit of a moral booster?
Yes, yes.
and then this thing of getting back and opening the restaurant for deliveries. So what are the sort of preparations? What are the worries in your head? How did you face them?
So my biggest worry, and I didn't do delivery for the last 2 months, is I'm wondering, I've got all of them living in these close quarters here, which is difficult enough. If I was to bring people from outside, I'd be exposing them. And now that I've realized that, you know, it is there. It's going to stay with us for a while. We have to protect ourselves and stay safe and live with it for a bit. I had a lot of requests of people saying we are missing your food. Do something, start up, And while I was talking to the boys, I said we're going to have to start, but we're going to have to take a hell of a lot of precautions, because not only do I not want anybody to fall sick, I don't want anybody to even feel uncomfortable or unsafe. If you feel slightly that I'm not happy to work at this time, I'm okay with it. There's no reason why you should get into work. And
Hmm.
a lot of the boys said to me, we're good to work, we'll deal with it, and we'll stay with the protocol. So, like, everything was a learning experience. Went to Dawa Bazaar, bought all the sanitization things, all the sodium hypochlorite, the gear, the equipment, put a team in place so that only one or two people stand outside the restaurant to dispense food. They are also sanitized every couple of hours. We are watching. Even the delivery aggregators have been fab. I mean, they come in, they spend least amount of time with the handling. They come in prepared with their orders. They sanitize. They check their temperature. I mean, we're doing everything that is physically possible, and realizing that they're also doing a job as difficult as it may be. We have to learn to respect and give them that much due, and you know live with what the current situation is today.
Thanks. That's really amazing, because I remember talking to you about this, and that's why I was very keen to talk about that. And first of all, like, our hopes and prayers are with you and everyone in the F&B industry in terms of what you're doing. So what I'm going to now do, you and I can keep talking, but I'm going to sum this up for people and
Thank you.
folks. There have been a lot of comments. A lot of people like Deepa, Manisha. A lot of people have been saying that they love Soam, Sucharita. Not everyone might be on at this point again, but there was a lot of people who were saying that they're big fans of the Soam food. But guys, if you have any specific questions for Pinky, please ask now, or otherwise, like, we might have to, because we lose these comments when we put it up. Uh, Real Anupama was saying that they serve good home kitchen food. Varnika of Delectable Reveries was saying, so good to see you back. Saloni Vimal loves Som. Being a Gujarati, I was so happy to see no thali, and she got her entire family to eat there. My friend Rini Chatterjee, who's married to a Parsi like me, Chef Kaizad, so she's also saying that she misses Som. So what I got out of your story, Pinky, and which is why I was keen to talk to you at the beginning of this Foodocracy for Her series, and this is really the idea, that to sort of bring out the values of fortitude, empathy, drive, meticulousness, everything which women bring into the table, and to show stories like yours, which will encourage many out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I want to say one last thing, Kay, is that, when we're starting this whole process, and I put it on my Facebook post today because it appealed to me, is that, we're all doing this as a new startup. It's a format that we're not used to. So if any